Hi boys and girls, this is Miss Little, your ELA instructional coach at Beecher Hills Elementary, and I am here today to read the November SEL book of the month called The Invisible Boy. The Invisible Boy was written by Trudy Ludwig, and the pictures or illustrations were drawn by Patrice Barton. Here we go. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for the kickball teams. The best players get picked first. Then the best friends of the best players. Then the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, says Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, says Madison. Everybody did, except Brian. He wasn't invited. At choosing time, while the other kids play board games and read, Brian sits at his table, doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings, greedy pirates digging for treasure, space aliens locked in intergalactic battles, and superheroes with powers to make friends wherever they go. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student, to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. At lunch, Madison and JT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. What's that? Asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. And the kids laugh. All of them, that is, except Brian. He sits there wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian, yum. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing away. You're Brian, right? Yeah. Thanks for the note. Hey, Justin, Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. You're up next. Sorry, I gotta go, says Justin. By the way, that's a really cool drawing, he adds before taking off. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in twos or threes for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. I'm already with Justin, says Emilio. Find someone else. Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Mrs. Carletti said we could have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio. Come work with us. Okay, I guess. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work to write a story about what you see in the photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, says Emilio. What kind of people do you think live in the house like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. Here they are, writing their story, working in a set of 3. Emilio, Justin, and Brian. The crooked story we made up on the spot. It's lunchtime again, Brian's least favorite part of the day. Another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. Brian, he hears someone shout. Hey, Brian, over here. Brian turns and sees Justin, waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. Look at the change. Maybe, just maybe, Brian's not so invisible after all. Cookie? Thanks, said Brian. And that is the end. So boys and girls, at the beginning, I told you to think about the SEL words of self-awareness, empathetic, and self-management. What would you do if you were Brian? Or what would you do if you were one of the students in the class? Would you be Brian's friend? Think about it. We all need a friend every now and then. Once again, this is Miss Little reading your November book of the month, SEL book of the month, called The Invisible Boy. I miss you guys, and we'll see you soon.